Hello, Vineyard. Today's lecture is all about everybody's favorite topic. That's right, today's lecture is all about MLA formatting. So, today we're going to be learning at how to properly embed quotes in a research essay and how to properly create a works cited page for that research essay. So, MLA, what is this? It stands for the Modern Language Association, and it's a group of professional writers, scholars, academics who create and also periodically update a universal set of guidelines for citing any type of source when you are writing a research essay. So why should we care about MLA formatting? Correct MLA citations will allow your reader, your audience, to be able to retrace your research steps and see where you've conducted your research. It's going to help you build your credibility, build your ethos, and it might even help you win your arguments. It's going to give credit to the people who've done the work that you want to talk about. It's going to give credit where credit's due. And when you turn in your essays, it's going to allow you to avoid any charges of plagiarism or academic theft. So you should be following along with the assignment that I provided, and I want you to take notes in that assignment. I want you to keep track of two things throughout this lecture. The first thing that I want you to keep track of is in-text citations, and the second thing I want you to keep track of is your works cited page. Let's look at in-text citations first. In-text citations are also called parenthetical notation. They're called parenthetical notation because all of your citation is going to occur within parentheses at the end of your sentence. These are how citations are handled within the actual essay itself. And you might be wondering to yourself, what needs to be cited? Anything that doesn't come from you needs to be cited. So direct quotes, when you paraphrase an author's idea, when you cite another source's research, theories, arguments, opinions, anytime you give a fact that's not commonly known or cite a table, graph, statistic, or data of any sort, you need to give me an in-text citation. The second thing I want you to keep track of is your works cited page. This used to be called a bibliography, but your works cited page is a complete list of all sources used in your essay. It's located on the last page of your essay, and it has to follow a very specific formula. Now, don't worry, this formula is easy. As long as you pay attention to this lecture, it should make a lot of sense. But I want you to get out of the habit of going to sites like NightCite or EasyBib, because those sites almost always incorrectly format your MLA citations. It's much better to do it by yourself and make sure it's done correctly. So let's start with in-text citations. Suppose you wanted to use a line from a book or an online article that you found as part of your essay. You include the author's last name and the page number or numbers where you found that material. So here's a direct quote from a book. Here's an example. Then, all of a sudden, it was like I opened my eyes one day and noticed that the world is full of beautiful girls, and I've had a hard time thinking about anything else ever since. That's a direct quote from Justin Bieber. Yes, Justin Bieber wrote a book. It's called First Step to Forever, My Story, and it's an instant classic. I highly recommend it. Notice that the direct quote does not have a period inside the direct quote itself. The period actually goes at the end of the citation after the parentheses. And you'll also notice that there's no comma inside the citation. You just give the author's last name and the page number where the citation actually occurred from. Another way to handle in-text citations is with signal phrases. So if you use the author's name in your sentence, you don't need to use their last name in the parenthetical citation. You only need to include the page number as the citation. Here's an example from Kim Kardashian's book. In her autobiography, Kim Kardashian explains that my first white Range Rover was so special. It was the first car I got on my own. It had pink trim, and it was such a smooth ride. So comfortable to be in. And luxurious. Oh, Kim. Look out, F. Scott Fitzgerald. Anyway, you'll notice that since I gave Kim Kardashian in the signal phrase, her actual name, there is no Kardashian in your parenthetical citation. It's just the page number. Yeah, Kourtney, Kim, and Khloe Kardashian are also published authors. I know. Again, notice no period inside the quotation. Period goes after the parentheses. Remember, any material that you use that comes from a source needs an in-text citation, and it needs to be included on the works cited page. So what if you're just summarizing someone else's idea or information? You still need a citation. That's paraphrasing. So let's use a more academically sound source for this example. This is from Stephen King's book titled On Writing. Before finding success as a writer, Stephen King worked as a high school English teacher, a profession he admits zapped most of his creative energy. Or the same info could be presented like this. King said, "I liked my coworkers and I loved the kids, but by most Friday afternoons, I felt as if I'd spent the week with jumper cables clamped to my brain." So this first example is if I paraphrase the author's ideas, I still gave a citation. The second example is me directly citing his specific words and using that same citation. So whether you give a direct quote or you paraphrase, you're still using that same citation. Now let's look at our works cited page. This is going to give more details about where you found the information in your paper. And the works cited page should include 9 core elements if that information is available. The thing is, most of your sources will only have some of these elements, so you just give the elements that are available in this descending order. So you have to use your own judgment in citing these elements. Again, there's more than one way to correctly document a source. So let's go through a works cited page in a bit more detail. First up is the author's name. Last name, comma, first name, followed by a period. Then you give the title of the source. So here are some examples. A standalone book title if you use the entire book, a chapter or section title if you used only that part of the book, a newspaper title, a magazine title, a website article title, a YouTube video title, a documentary film title. All of those would count as titles of your source. Then you give the container. So here are some examples of what containers are. Book titles that contain the chapter or section that you used, the title of the academic journal that the article was actually located in, a website that the article is posted to, a database name where a journal and article are found, or an online streaming provider such as Netflix or YouTube if the source is a video. If it's important to what you're writing about, include information about any contributors mentioned on a title page, including editors, people who introduced the article or book, translators, illustrators, narrators, anybody who contributed to this source. After you've given the contributors, you give version and issue numbers. This is if you're citing a magazine or a newspaper. Then you give the name of the publisher, and you omit any business words in the name, such as company or corporation or incorporated or limited. You just give the title of the publisher itself. Then you give the publication date. This is the published date for the articles or online materials and the copyright date for printed materials as they were first printed. And then finally, for 9, use the exact page number for printed materials. P for a single page, double P for multiple pages. And you use the exact URL for online resources. You don't use URL shorteners, you give the full URL. And yes, the full URL will look clunky on the page, but many teachers, professors, myself included, read papers on screens, and it's very convenient for us to be able to click on the links. Another thing to note is punctuation. Author is followed by a period, title of source is followed by a period, then everything else is strung together by commas until you get to location, which is also followed by a period. So you put it all together and it should look something like this. If you use the whole book, your citation might look like King, comma, Stephen, period, on writing. Notice that on writing is italicized because this is a book. Scribner, comma, 2000. So again, King, comma, Stephen, author's last name, followed by first, period. On writing is the title of the book. Scribner is the publisher, and 2000 is the year it was published. If you use just a single page, it would be the same citation, but the final piece of that sentence would be page 73. And then if you used a clump of pages, you use that double P followed by the actual page range in your citation. Again, use P for single pages and double P for multiple pages. So you should look at this citation now, and for this citation, I want you to see if you can figure out which of the 9 core elements are included. You might want to pause this video right now and just try to figure it out really quickly on your own. Okay. 1, the author's last name is obviously given. 2, the title of the source is given. Then the publisher is given, the publication date, and then the location of the actual referenced material. Again, notice that the title is italicized because it's a major work. If it was an article, a poem, a short story, then you would use quotation marks instead of an italicized title. So let's try creating a works cited citation together. Here's all the information that you need to create a citation, and I want you to use your note sheet and see if you can put all this information in its proper citation order. So it's an article from Discover magazine. It's about Albert Einstein, and it's written by Andy Berger, so he's the author. It was published in the June 2016 edition. It's volume 37, number 5. The article's title is All in His Head, and it's found on pages 26 through 31 of that magazine, and the magazine is created by Calmback Publishing. I want you to pause this video right now and see if you can put all of this information into your own properly formatted citation. Okay, let's see how you did. What does your citation look like? This is what mine looks like. Berger, comma, Andy, period. All in his head is in quotation marks because it's an article. Discover magazine is the publisher. Volume 37, issue number 5. Calmback Publishing is the publisher. It was published on June 2016, and it occurred on pages 26 through 31. Again, notice the periods after Andy, after the author's name, after the title of the source, and then at the end of the citation. Everything else is strung together by commas. Hopefully your citation looks a lot like mine. A little bit more information about containers. You may need to add a little bit more info about where you found your information because databases, e-reading platforms, and media streaming services all host other published works. If you use any of those or these, you'll just add an extra scoop of information to your citation. So here's an example if you wanted to use an article from an online journal database called Gale Group. Your citation would look like this. Watkins, Randy, is Google making us dumber? Distance learning, Informational Age Publishing, December 2015. Yeah, I've given you this full URL. I know it looks clunky, but I want to be able to click on it at the end of reading your essays so I can follow your research. So yes, it's super long, but I need the full thing in your citation. Notice that the first chunk ends here, but then the second container, the online database, is included in a second scoop of information. So here's a sample works cited page. Notice that it has 1-inch margins on all sides. You do have your last name and the page number in your header in the top right corner. Works cited is centered, and then you have a list of your sources in order of appearance. So what if more questions arise as you work? I want you to consult a copy of the MLA handbook or visit the MLA site at style.mla.org. It's a great site that should help you. And congratulations, you're now ready to successfully navigate academic circles and turn in properly sourced and formatted MLA essays.